The magic of the cup, everybody. They said it wasn't there. They said it didn't exist.
No, they said it had been spilled out of the cup.
Pete Donaldson.
Oof.
It was back with a vengeance, wasn't it?
Yeah, I kind of wish it wasn't a penalty.
Popeye.
That won it, but it was such a high hand. Wait. But it was such a high hand.
Bloody hell.
And it was such a great performance from Plymouth. I'm having it every day.
He hasn't even said what game yet.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Plymouth won, Liverpool.
We need
0.
to talk about the general magic.
Oh, the general magic was there.
Yeah, but
Let me just finish. The general magic is sweeping through like a mist.
Yeah,
all
like a
over the
lovely
country for a weekend, and we
Yes.
need it, don't we, Marcus?
We do need it.
But it was only a penalty, though, so should it
matter.
even really count?
I thought you were specifically talking about
Tell you
this
what,
match.
give Liverpool a replay. Give them a replay.
I think this might
Bring
be
your proper players and let's have a replay.
Yeah.
This might be the first time I've seen someone try to put the magic back in the cup.
I think so.
Right, okay, yeah.
I think that's what he was doing, old Hardy.
No, I think that's what Pete's trying to
Pete?
do.
Yeah, with a teaspoon.
It's
No, no,
the
the
glittery,
magic's-
glittery
it's like-
magic.
It's like toothpaste, isn't it? Don't try and put it back in.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
see.
do that.
And
Yeah,
that's
fair.
not a teaspoon.
Go on then. Plymouth 1, Liverpool 0.
Yeah.
Can you believe it? The bottom of the Championship club, Plymouth beat the Premier League leaders, Liverpool. It's the fourth time in history of the Football Association Cup where the current leaders of the Premier League have been knocked out by opposition not in the top flight. Of course, in 2015, Chelsea were beaten 4-2 in the FA Cup, fourth round by League One Bradford, while top of the Premier League. So it's a rare occurrence. And I mean, I didn't see this coming.
No, and
We talked about a quadruple, at least a treble. It's all gone.
we know. It's all gone. Get it,
Right it off.
It's happened again.
Mikel Arteta. Is that you?
You can win
Don't
the
bother.
Premier League. You can win the Champions League, but the big one is not up for grabs now.
No.
I wasn't too surprised because I know when I saw them play against Portsmouth this season, Plymouth are a very, very good team. Like a very good team.
Bottom of the Championship.
Beat Pompey 1-0 when Rooney was manager. Frustrating. And we had all our best players.
Yeah, right.
So no, joke aside though, it's an incredible result. I mean, I thought that, and I know we'll come on to this, I thought the most magic we were going to get per capita was going to be in the Leyton Orient game after what we saw.
Yes, yeah.
And we will come on to
But
that.
Plymouth came along. It was almost like Plymouth came along in the encore of. I know there's a couple of games tonight and tomorrow, but Plymouth came along in the encore of the FA Cup fourth round weekend.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Absolutely delivered an epic.
Yeah.
That smashed it out the park. And what was really interesting about the game itself was that I know that they were up against it a fair amount, and a lot of their players had to really dig in. But it wasn't like the Alamo. It wasn't over and over again, like chance after chance.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like quote unquote one of those days where Liverpool just couldn't score. It was, to me, a very canny, hardy. But shit team
Hardy.
in Plymouth,
Like it.
well, Hardy obviously, literally, against a bunch of players who perhaps don't play quite as often, weren't coherent, didn't really know how to deal with it, and then couldn't call upon anyone to rescue it because they didn't have them.
They didn't have Salah on the bench.
Yeah, so Salah doesn't even travel, right? Can you get here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Half time. How long's it going to take? Oh, fucking, that's Plymouth.
Send the chopper.
Yeah, the infrastructure is
protocol.
diabolical.
What's the issue? Have you only got 10? No.
No.
Got everyone.
We're fucked.
Plymouth have conceded 63 goals this season, which is the most in the top four divisions.
Yeah,
of
they're bad.
English
They're a bad
football.
team. They're a bad team. They're a bad team.
And let's be clear.
They're not going to kick on after this. Let's make it very clear.
They're not, Peter.
This is not going to be something that buoys their season,
Yes.
turns around their fortunes. They're going to be just as bad, possibly worse in the next
I
round.
fancy them to draw and beat Man City in the fifth round.
Oh.
I thought that.
What, Luis Diaz, Diogo Jota and Federico Chiesa should have done better against a team that ships goals?
I thought Federico Chiesa looked very confused about the whole thing. I thought,
What a lovely expressive face, though.
yeah, that's why. It was almost like he couldn't quite believe he was there.
Like Joaquin Phoenix in Signs.
Yeah, a bit like Joaquin Phoenix's signs.
Yeah.
I was going to say
Wow.
a bit
You like that, Peter?
I did not see that
Well,
coming.
he looks like Joaquin Phoenix, right?
Yes.
So I'm thinking, which film? It's not Gladiator, because that's a certain look he's got.
Yeah.
So I'm not having that one.
He's also got the kind of face and head shape.
Gladiator.
If you gave him a little hat and a kind of like novelty scarf, he could be, an extra from the Muppets Christmas Carol.
Definitely.
Oh, I like
He's
that.
got
100%.
He's got that look about
I like
him.
that.
Is it too far? I'll do what I always do here. I'll take that, I'll build on it, and I'll probably go too far.
Uh-huh.
He looks like a simple farm boy. Doesn't he? He looks like
Yeah, you could have kept it.
he's always
nice,
positive.
cosy Christmas
He's
Carol.
always positive.
Yeah.
But I just thought he just looked overwhelmed by being in Plymouth. which has happened to me. I mean, it's happened to me.
I mean, physically, surely being on the coast is kind of similar to Liverpool, no?
Yeah.
It's a very different town.
It's a very different town.
I think Plymouth is, Plymouth is.
Oh, here we go.
Look, you're from the Portsmouth area. You can say what you want.
There's no rivalry there.
Right.
No. People try and pretend there is.
Right.
The Dockyard Derby, but there isn't.
Their main rivalry is with China because it's a naval town.
Yeah, these days, yeah. Well, their main rival is obviously with Exeter City, who assistant producer Tom refused to acknowledge this result because he's an Exeter City fan.
Right. Okay.
So I didn't want.
Exeter fan and hates the magic of the cup.
Yeah, I was also. Well, he's not here he's not got a microphone to defend himself.
So let's slag him off
here. But he said to me he didn't watch the game, and I thought, well, it kind of is your job, though, isn't it? Kind of is your job to watch it.
Can't watch everything.
Monday morning, back to the show.
We've all got principles, mate. Just watch it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh dear.
But anyway, it's an amazing result for Plymouth. We should give them the credit.
But you are right to say though that it was like. It was pretty comfortable for Plymouth.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds stupid.
I don't think comfortable is the right word. I think it was manageable.
Not comfortable, sorry, because that would suggest...
Liverpool found it quite hard to sort of break them down, but also they were resorting to a lot of high stuff, which wasn't working for them. We'll speak about the defender. It's pretty soon, but they ran out of ideas.
Speak about them now, Pete.
But they only had one idea.
Yeah,
and that was to whip it in, and Nikola Katic was obviously player of the match. Head on a stick, just absolutely whacking them away.
Like a Pez. He was like a football Pez.
He was like an Irish defender in the World Cup '94.
Oh, there was a tooth loss, specifically against Italy.
Yeah. By the way, Paul McGrath
needs to be named. Yeah,
I think he's done very well to be compared to Paul McGrath. You can't believe his luck.
There was a tooth loss. Wasn't there?
That's blood and thunder. That.
That's Scott Parker.
And then a sweary post-match interview.
Yeah, he would love. He's a very singular figure, Katic, and I think that if you'd said to him before the game, would you be happy? How many teeth would you be happy to sacrifice for a win here? I think he'd have said more than one.
Yeah.
Yes, I think.
He's come out of that he's up really,
and you've got to give him player of the match, even though Hazard in goal
was good as well. Yeah,
those fingers at the end, fingers.
Yeah, that would have been gutting, wouldn't it? Because extra time, what would have happened.
Oh yeah,
or even
the last thing they needed. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, but Katic made 17 clearances. 11 of those were headed clearances. The most headed clearances by a player in a match against Liverpool since March 2020, which was Stefan Savic for Atletico Madrid, who also had 11. We know what Savic is all about. We know what Atletico Madrid were all about.
That was the COVID super spreader game.
That must have been, yeah, exactly.
So he was heading away the COVID as much as he could as well.
So absolutely incredible. And if you didn't see that sweary post-match interview when asked about...
Give us a quote, Marcus.
I shall. When asked how he felt about beating Liverpool, he said, I fucking love it. I fucking love it. So, there's no stone left unturned there.
What did you make of Harvey Elliott's save?
I think it's fair to say that was a penalty.
Yeah, it just served to make Federico Chiesa even more confused. Yeah. I'm pretty sure. I know I'm in a weird place, but I don't think you can do that.
Yeah, in these early rounds of the FA Cup, I don't think.
But,
there's no VAR. Doesn't matter. Yeah. Does not matter with that kind of decision.
That was the moment when that penalty was rightly given, as you say. That Chiesa basically broke the fourth wall, wasn't it? I felt like he turned to the camera.
Yeah.
That's
Chiesa.
me. I expect you wonder what I'm doing here.
Yeah. I think Chiesa wanted to get back to Wembley. Yeah. We saw him score a goal at Wembley before.
We did.
Not in the FA Cup.
No. But, that would be weird, wouldn't it?
That would have been very weird, yeah.
It was generally, independent of all of this, it was actually really nice to see him on the football field. I know we've had fleeting glances in this season.
You're right. But yeah. Well, basically, we remember him from Euro 2020. Back in the summer of 2021, and he was great. But it seems a while ago now. But hopefully he can get up to speed.
I actually think he's a really good player.
Oh, come on, he is. Yeah.
And I suspect that he might not be that well suited to the Premier League, and I suspect that he might not get the chance to play as much as we'd like. But like, joking aside, whenever I watched him play at Juventus and before that Fiorentina, I think I may have said this before when he signed, but just to reiterate it very quickly. He's a really, really positive player. He tries to do the hard stuff at speed. He's not someone who gets the ball as a wide forward and cuts inside and plays a simple ball. He always wants to make things happen, and I think he doesn't get enough credit for that. That's really brave and confident and hard to do as a wide forward, especially in the era of recycling possession and stuff like that. So if he gets a run in the team, which he fucking won't.
No, he won't do. But
he could be good.
But the chance wasn't taken here.
This is not going to be a highlight on his CV.
No, it won't be. But that's because the heroes of Plymouth Argyle stopped him, and all of those Liverpool players, because again, as you say, they were up for it, they were disciplined, they were well drilled, and they took their chance because that was a penalty all day long. And the goalkeeper, as I say, the goalkeeper may have with those last-ditch saves, got man of the match. But I think if a guy loses a tooth and plays the game he does, then you are duty-bound, really. Did you see a fan was spotted wearing a half-and-half Liverpool and Plymouth shirt?
Yeah, I don't mind that.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Yeah, the only time I've seen that was backstage at our Glasgow show when Pete
did it himself.
stitching
Exactly,
arrangements.
yeah.
I should actually just
Liverpool.
defer to you on that because you are the king of that.
Yeah,
Rangers
I mean,
and
it's
Celtic.
confusing. You imagine that halfway through the match, when it seems that like Liverpool can't break them down, just take half of it off.
Yeah.
and you just look like the half shirt man rather than the twat.
Yeah, you look less stupid.
I
Didn't you have a full shirt on a second ago?
I think it's funny, isn't it? If it was
like
a scarf,
it.
I would have been fine with it being a scarf.
Yeah.
I think people get pissed
Oh
off
yeah,
about the scarves too.
half and half scarves are fine, apart from the environmental impact of creating something that's going to be unloved, never worn, and never sold. A lot of them as well.
So I would say on half and half.
What's happened to you today?
half and half scarves are the scourge. Like, why does anybody?
Do you feel unloved and never worn yourself? Pete? Is that what it is? But you know, the only thing about half and half scarves.
I'm a half and half
is that-
man.
Is that if it's like Liverpool v Everton or something, it's like, what's the point of that? They're rivals.
No,
Actually, really, that seems to make more sense. Than
You
saying
reckon?
that. Yeah.
Who's it for?
But if
family
you
where-
want it as a souvenir to a game you went to, I think it's quite a nice.
I don't mind
thing.
them. I don't mind them
Yeah.
overall.
I just think they're
Get
always
a
a waste.
program
I think if you feel really strongly about it to the point it makes you angry, go for a walk.
Yeah, fair enough.
But what if you see somebody wearing
I
one?
was going to say, I think
And then,
I
if
think-
you see it in the wild, hit them.
Yeah, I think you're allowed. I went for a walk. I calmed myself down. I thought about a digital loom, and then I smacked the block.
I was about to say, Vish, I think with your therapy session, there has to be an element of rampage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
What's your end result?
Yeah.
What do they call
Well.
it? Do they have those like smashing rooms? What are they called? They're like rooms you can go in and destroy.
Yeah.
Take your cricket bat in there, Vish.
Yeah. Very expensive.
Speaking of Rampage, did you see Pilgrim Pete?
Yeah, I did.
Yes.
Great mascot.
He's always getting in trouble, isn't he, Pilgrim Pete?
He's a great mascot.
He's a great
so-
mascot.
any
He's
relation?
sporting a modern moustache
yeah,
as well.
on the Pilgrim's outfit.
Yeah.
But yes, Pilgrim Pete got into a scrap with the photographer at half time.
Yeah.
Which was wholly the
A genuine
let's not be
scrap as well.
No, it was a hip toss, a silly hip toss.
The photographer kicked him.
It was with anger.
No, the photographer. If you watch the footage again from the other camera angle,
Right.
the photographer goes to sort of step over him to get the ball. He trips over Pilgrim Pete. Pilgrim Pete turns it into a hip toss, possibly heading towards a rock bottom, and it's just a bit of fun.
There's no ball around.
The ball is in the net.
Yeah.
They're playing football.
I thought-
Pilgrim Pete, yeah.
I think
I'm a
it looks to
mark-
me that the photographer just boots him as if to say, get out of the way of the
No,
shot.
he slips. He slips.
Knowing what I know about photographers
Yeah.
of that nature, they
Right.
are universally awful. They are awful.
Wow. Okay. Why?
I've been to shoots before, doing like interviews with players and stuff like that, where there's been photographers there getting shit, and they are terrible.
And they didn't
They're
want you in the
so
shot, did they?
rude.
They didn't want you in the
Yeah,
shot.
so I'm not getting out the shot. So I don't care if you want to photograph Olivier Giroud. I'm not getting out the shot.
That's dragging that down.
Well,
isn't it?
either or.
Making the average right down.
Yeah.
I think we need to have a VAR review, don't we, of the fight?
We'll get
Yeah,
social
we'll have
media
one.
to comment
All
on
right,
it.
yeah, fine.
Well,
I thought it was an anger personally.
No, I think it was. He went to step over Pilgrim Pete's massive feet. I mean, it's Pilgrim Pete's fault for having massive feet.
Yeah. Marcus and I are coming from a point of
Tumours.
view. Marcus and I are coming from a point of view where
Tumours in his
we are quite normal people though, as Pete probably gets in that kind of scrap every day.
I've got to ask as well. Where did you get this other angle from? Because there was no VAR.
Yeah, I know. Good point, actually. Yeah, there's a distinct lack of technology at all of these FA Cup fixtures this weekend. It was very upsetting.
We caught that, though.
we got that one.
That's why they had a pilgrim as a mascot.
Wasn't there Arabic commentary over the top of it as well? It was like on some broadcast channel.
Yeah,
on
that's
the
right,
footage
yeah.
that we got, I think it was Arabic. And it's just like, who's broadcasting that?
I don't know.
guess because Liverpool are involved.
Every mic is a hot mic. Every camera. Every camera is.
But shout out to Plymouth though.
Yeah.
Nicely dispatched penalty, definite penalty.
Yep.
Deserved.
He said he'd been
deserved-
practicing them hard. I thought
Yeah.
he looked confident. He struck
He
it
did.
confidently.
He did.
And Kelleher's,
He's got a fairly good record.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, look, that Liverpool side was good enough to. It's a shame for Joe Gomez going off very early. I should be duty bound to point out.
Well, the lovely thing about Ryan Hardy is at the end of the game, he was obviously so giddy about what he'd just done and what Plymouth had just done. And the scale of the achievement that he referred to Liverpool as the world champions. And
nice.
obviously they've psyched themselves up
Yeah.
to a point where they know the team they're playing are, so good and so great. But I just quite like that.
So it'd be Real Madrid, presumably, would be the current world
I think
champions.
so.
Yeah,
And Liverpool
yeah.
beat them, so you can see where he's coming from.
And we're going to find out this summer exactly who the real.
Yeah,
Exactly,
proper
yeah.
stuff.
But can I perhaps a touch mischievously before we move on from this? suggest that the team selection and chiefly the squad selection from Arne Slot was a touch arrogant.
No, I don't think that's.
You don't think so? Okay.
No,
There was more than enough there to
yeah, exactly.
go
As I
through.
said, Luis Diaz and Jota are starting the game. You know, Harvey Elliott's a proper
Bringing
player. You've
Nunes
got
off
Keller.
the bench. It's like they had enough there.
They had enough there, and you know the poorest defence in the top 4 divisions.
Clean sheet though.
Bottom, yeah, well, indeed, lowest bottom of the championship. I mean, you know, this often happens in the cup. And think of the games that they've got to play soon enough. They do have a cup final. They've got the Champions League. They look at this, and this is the ideal opportunity to rest players. It's just unfortunately for them, it's gone the other way. You know, they play that game again. You know, another 10 times or whatever. Liverpool are going to win most, if not all of them. You know, so no, I don't think it's arrogant. I think you would say it was very understandable.
I was just trying to get a clip for the social.
Yeah, okay.
Have a go,
Vish. Well, we haven't heard Vish's opinion on this. So that's my boring.
If you could just say the word arrogant, it'll cut in really nicely.
I thought it was very arrogant. Considering they're going to get rinsed by Everton in midweek.
Rory Jennings, is that you?
Don't have a go at Rory.
Why? Oh, because he was nice to you at TalkSport once. Who
Twice.
fucking cares? Twice. Okay.
I care.
Yeah, I know you do, but I don't.
He's
So carry on.
genuinely a nice chap.
Good, great.
We had 5 years of Clinton Hill's the nicest man in the world.
Yeah, I was
after
gonna
you
say.
met him once.
I don't think it was 5 years. And in my defence,
5 years going on about Clinton Hill.
in my
Good God.
defence, I went to his house.
Unannounced.
Yeah, hello. He didn't let me in.
So no, I'll defend little Rory.
Yeah.
Although I
You
did
know
like-
how this works, right?
Yeah.
All you got to do to get Marcus to big you up on this show, right? Which is one of the biggest football shows out there, is just to say, Marcus, you're a legend. Which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
basically what happened, isn't it?
How do you think I got here?
Indeed.
I've got no beef with Rory. I was just winding him up.
Yes, he called me an icon, not a legend.
Yeah.
So Liverpool.
He's totally deluded.
So Liverpool, as you can see by that, he isn't. Liverpool won't be in the FA Cup final on 17th of May, which incidentally is the same day that we're bringing Football Ramble Time Tunnel to Shepherd's Bush Empire.
Yes.
On FA Cup final day.
We did it before and it was a riot. I feared for my life, which isn't worth anything.
My goodness. Funny, that was reading about the Apostle Paul earlier, but different angle you're
Different
coming at, but
angle, yeah.
ultimately the same thing.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, that's right. We're doing a live show on FA Cup final day. It promises to be a cracker. As Pete said, we did this before. It was at Hackney Empire a few years ago when Arsenal beat Chelsea in the final.
Yeah.
We know that neither of those sides will be involved in the final this year. So do come along.
Well, what we thought was we thought we'd do a season closer.
Yes.
In our home city of London, and you know, FA Cup final traditionally the season closer, and we'll go on stage afterwards and do our show, and it'll be a lovely way to round off the season. To which the Premier League said, "Fuck you, we're doing Premier League games the weekend after that, so it doesn't matter. Fuck off."
Oh, that's
Did
a
you?
shame.
But still come.
Was the FA Cup final show that we did last time? It ended up with a phallus attached to a bus.
I think
Was
it
that
might
that
have
one?
done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could have done. It was the very same phallus that went in that bloke's ear on deadline day at Stoke.
Yeah, we did that. You're welcome, London.
We'll head to footballramblelive.com to grab your tickets for our live shows. Of course, London, Birmingham, Manchester, Newcastle and Glasgow. We're coming to you, footballramblelive.com this May. Coming up after this break, Jamie Donley has one of the great FA Cup goals taken away from him.
Blow them a mile away. They're angry behind it that first half. Take us through, D, on the goal.
Welcome back to the Football Ramble, everybody. Tottenham fans calling Dion Dublin a wanker, apparently.
Did you hear what Dion Dublin said? though?
Yeah,
Did
he
you watch
turned around.
it?
He said he was going to smack him, wasn't he?
He said
Not for him out.
He leant back behind the other pundit or behind Mark Chapman, like pointed through the glass at someone and said something like, "Well, I'll see him outside later. I'll take him outside."
It was so very not BBC.
Yeah, but he was just joking, though.
Yeah, you thought, "I'll take him outside and show him the stairs leading up to the bedroom."
Yeah.
The stairs leading up to my fist.
Yeah.
I would say that Dion Dublin is one of those things because he's so affable and he's
He's
been on the BBC for such a long time. He could still do a job, I think.
Yeah,
'Cause
I
he
know
was
what you
quite
mean.
an imposing striker, wasn't he?
And he's in good
defender.
shape as well.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
I remember as a kid, he got sent off for headbutting someone.
How can you forget who the someone was?
Oh, Savage, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, right, okay.
Think about it, right? We're just saying he's a lovely, affable bloke.
Yeah.
Obviously, a very keen competitor on the
Excellent
pitch.
taste.
Hence the fine playing career. But if there's one man who could break through all that,
Yeah, so he gets sent off for headbutting Rory Jennings.
remember the game.
And I remember
unbelievable.
But I remember thinking as a kid, because he'd scored so many headers, that it was his like superpower. And I was like, oh God, he's killed him. He's used his finishing move on him. He's dead.
Whereas he got a terrible injury, of course, when he ran into a player. When he bumped his head, and his head sort of almost collapsed his neck, and it was genuinely
his
did he
head
not nearly die or something?
I don't
it was
remember
a really bad one.
I don't remember the upshot, but I remember the incident.
Yeah. Anyway, nice to talk about the head of Dion Dublin.
Yeah.
Thanks
But he has disgraced himself there on the licensed players' money.
Yeah,
No,
as
he
an England
hasn't.
international.
I don't think he has.
He was joking. He said he told them to calm down. They calmed down, and then he said, "I'll take them up." Jokingly said he was going to beat them up.
I find Dublin's output across the board to be very poor.
Okay,
so that's what I'm saying.
I thought the Undertaker knife across the neck was a bit much.
Yeah,
it was,
in prime time.
Because in the second half, he was just when they come back after the second half and to the punch after the game, he was just buffing his knife, wasn't he?
He was. Yeah, he was whittling it
on a whetstone.
He was whittling a stave.
Thanks to friend of the Ramble, Andrew, for sending us that clip. You can become a friend of the Ramble too by heading over to patreon.com/Football Ramble. You'll get access to the Discord where you can chat with us and other Ramble listeners and get ad-free episodes of the Ramble up front and on the continent, all for just $5 a month. You'll also get an extended version of every Wednesday Ramble. To listen, just head to patreon.com/Football Ramble and sign up now. Right then, Leyton Orient 1, Manchester City 2. Oh. What a shame. Leyton Orient led 1-0 against Manchester City for a full 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Jamie Donley was denied one of the great FA Cup goals. I mean, to be honest with you, it was an own goal. It wasn't have gone in.
Yeah, I mean...
So actually, he was helped out. He got one of the great assists. And we should thank Ortega, I think, for ensuring that it went in.
His backside.
Who quite simply is a diabolical goalkeeper. He is an appalling goalkeeper.
Do you think?
I've never seen a keeper, and I thought this when I was at the Arsenal game as well, where he wasn't very good. I've never seen a goalkeeper let so many balls flash across the 6-yard box without intervening.
Have you seen what's going on at that club at the moment?
But I just think...
It's probably a data-led decision.
So he's good with his feet. He is good with his feet.
Yeah.
But he doesn't make any saves.
Yeah, I remember you saying this about Claudio Bravo when they got him in goal.
Yeah. Another one. Kepa went through a phase of that as well.
Yeah, it's like just refusing to save the balls.
And the Jamie Donley thing is, you're right. I mean, the narrative, which is really important, obviously in the FA Cup particularly, is that, it's a real shame that he won't be credited with that goal. But the realistic point is that it wouldn't have gone in the goal.
Well, exactly. What would have been worse? What would have been worse if he'd have done that
and it came out again.
Came back out? Do you see what I mean?
That's the only other option.
We should thank Ortega, because if it wasn't for that own goal, the whole moment wouldn't have been there, and Jamie Donley wouldn't have had his moment, because he's still celebrated. Like, you're still going, oh my goodness, what an effort! We'll remember that clip. So
there are no pictures on the score sheet, as we always say, but there should be a QR code, I think.
Yeah,
just to sort of see that. Just to see that.
It's like when someone smashes one from miles out, it flies off the bar, the keeper dives and it hits him and goes in. The person who had the shot gets absolutely no credit for their contribution to that.
Yeah,
because that's just the way it is. Yeah. You're right. There's we need some kind of solution which credits a player, particularly in that situation, because that was a crisp strike.
Yes,
and it was a brilliant vision.
And the keeper, but we said that it wasn't going to go in. I mean, the keeper was part of the kerfuffle. Mm-hmm. He gets himself in that position because of the actions of the striker. So I don't know. I think one of those little Man City asterisks would be nice. Stick that on it.
I would also put out there that Jamie Donley generally, I mean,
on loan from Spurs, of course.
He's played that way. He's absolutely bullied £50 million Nico Gonzalez the whole game before he went off. Yeah. Massive baptism of fire for him.
Poor old Nico Gonzalez.
How's he not getting that Spurs team?
Well,
I mean, he looks great.
I do think really Spurs have forgotten that he's on loan, because they should have recalled him.
Well, Richie Wellens had embarrassed himself a couple of months ago, didn't he?
Well, we were talking about that on the show the other day, about what you said about Postecoglou.
Or last month or whatever it was.
Yeah. I mean...
Is it Andy predicted what happened to Gonzalez? He said it will happen.
Because obviously they've got Real Madrid, haven't they, coming up in the Champions League, and Nico Gonzalez has been brought in pretty much to shore up that midfield, which he's capable of doing. Well, not if if his legs are on the treatment table, for crying out loud.
Marcus, I did think, I know he went off. Look, he went off after about 20 minutes. But I thought he had a very, very poor start to the game. I thought he struggled. I did.
Yeah, I know, but you can't single him out for that. He's playing for this Manchester City side at this moment.
Against Leyton Orient.
Yeah, well, we've talked about Plymouth and Liverpool, but this, like Man City, this is what's happening here, people. Leyton Orient are going, well, it's only them. We can get at them. That is the reality of the situation with Manchester City. They have to bring on Kevin De Bruyne, who obviously scores the winning goal fairly late on from a beautiful pass from Jack Grealish.
Brilliant pass.
I know Grealish is down on his luck a little bit at the moment.
When you think about that goal, it was a brilliant goal, and I know Grealish deserves credit for that pass. It was brilliant. I think he might have technically assisted the first goal as well, but he won't get an assist for it because I think he might have played the initial pass and it got moved. It got deflected. Okay. I can't.
That's a signal.
It was a big deflection. But the thing about the De Bruyne goal, which I loved, is that we're so used to seeing De Bruyne pick out those runs and play those inch-perfect passes. But it's lovely just to see that he can make the run with that impeccable timing as well. It's almost like seeing an amazing guitarist on stage.
Yeah.
Just have a little go beyond the drums.
Yeah.
And fucking hell, he's brilliant.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. I mean, the thing is, I think for De Bruyne, I think he just probably thought, lads, we've got to beat these. We can't go to extra time here. And I love the fact, well, I didn't love it, I thought it was hilarious, that he was holding the ball in the corner towards the end of the game. Yeah. And Pep just looking across the pitch at him, shaking his head, going, And do you know what? I'll tell you now what was going through his mind. Should have taken the England job, shouldn't I?
we'll watch that every week.
across the board, Vitor Reis had a really difficult game. I thought Ruben Diaz was quite poor. The goalkeeper was poor. It was Gonzalez. Maybe it's harsh to judge him. It's his first game, and he got an injury. I get that, but it did look. It did show you just how much they can be bullied.
Nice for Kuzanov to get his first goal for Man City, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
When you're watching that, you think, there we go. But this is what's happening with Manchester City this season.
He deserves that after his debut.
I think he does. Yeah,
that absolute Nike feather of a header.
Yeah, totally.
Cannoned off his shoulder without realising.
Yeah, right.
That's yours. Keep that.
Well, I think that with Man City this season, again, when you're watching a cup tie, and of course it happens, it bloody well happened at Plymouth, but you see the lower league side go ahead, and then when the Premier League side are gifted a goal, well, not gifted, but they get a
fortunate one,
very fortuitous strike like that. You go, oh bloody hell, and then you expect it to go one way, and of course Man City go on to win the game, but it wasn't that straightforward, was it? Leyton Orient was still there, and then the big number 5 right at the end,
my God,
the volley.
Yeah, keeper was up as well. Keeper was up there.
I know.
Causing mayhem.
It was a sickener, but I mean, Orient gave a great account of themselves, and they'll remember that cup tie for many a year. I
suppose if you're going to talk about the Kusanov goal in that way, could we be perhaps again like a bit mischievous and suggest that actually, well, in which case then, by that definition, the Leyton Orient goal was very fortunate?
Well, I think because the Leyton Orient goal is a moment of brilliance, even though it ultimately wouldn't have gone in without Ortega's bot. But with Manchester City, it's a fairly tame effort on goal that would have gone to the keeper. So
yeah.
But also as well, come on, you've got your FA Cup magic bias hat on. Yeah. So you wanted to see Leyton Orient do something.
I just love that the FA Cup is if you're looking about that kind of around that tedious debate around the magic of whether it's still there and all that kind of stuff. It's never felt more magical within the context of a Hardy penalty against Liverpool or Jamie Donley doing that. The idea that that will be that goal that Hardy scored for Plymouth will be remembered forever now. Any time he's in Plymouth, he's going to be a legend there, and that's where the magic's found. Jamie Donley is going to be always remembered for the people who support Leyton Orient, who witnessed that goal. That goal, despite the fact that he didn't technically score it, is probably going to make up quite a lot of FA Cup montages in years to come.
There's a lovely moment where one of the Leyton Orient, or Leyton as Pep called them, Leyton Orient employee with the AAP saying in a lanyard was just like, hands on the head.
Yeah, Stewart in the background.
Hands on the head going, oh my God.
I saw that. That was brilliant. Yeah.
Lovely moment.
Jamie Donley is previous for Spurs age group teams. He's done it twice, like hitting from range, seeing the keeper off his line.
Is he the John Joe Shelby?
Well, no, because he's now would have done it at least 3 times, certainly from what I've seen.
Oh, right. Shelby's done it?
Has he?
Yeah. He did a beauty out in Turkey, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
I once saw him whipping a lady in a film.
Once.
Fish.
Jimmy Donnan, sorry.
Fish, how can you not remember John Joe Shelby doing that in Turkey?
Yeah.
By the way, weirdly enough, not even the only mention he's going to get on the show today.
No, absolutely not.
He's back.
Not.
Yeah. You can't really be the king of that unless you're going to get Jamie Carragher in the background screaming at you with frustration every time you try it, like Charlie Adam used to get.
Good old Charlie. Right, let's move on to Birmingham City 2, Newcastle United 3. League One Birmingham, they pushed the Geordies all the way, but they didn't do it ultimately. Great cup tie though, Peter Donaldson.
Great goal from Iwata. My God. Absolutely whipped Poppy didn't have a blooming chance, did he?
Goal of the round for a lot of people, I think.
Oh, yeah, I think so, definitely. Definitely.
We don't see that enough anymore, do we? As the ball was bouncing out,
Just
he's not on screen, and you're like...
Lash.
I was actually... I think I've been conditioned watching football on TV to expect that people just don't do that anymore. I was like, oh, he's going to recycle the ball, they're going to whip it in, whatever. And then when he hits it, I'm like, oh, go in.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. So good.
Yeah, it's what some sports would call a low percentage play.
Yeah.
My goodness, what a reward.
Wait, so bit by bit, we're taking it back from the nerds, aren't
Yes,
we?
we are.
Speaking of which, lovely little bit of nostalgia seeing the assistant referee give a controversial goal line goal.
Yeah.
Well,
I thought that goal line technology was kind of shrunk down to just cameras in the goal, but apparently proper goal line technology is still like 7 cameras on the stadium roof and
Pete,
mad stuff like
there
that.
is absolutely, in this day and age, no excuse for this not to be better.
Just have one little camera.
just
that
have a
somebody can
drone
watch.
flying just below the crossbar, so you can.
I read that apparently.
Back and forth.
Yeah, exactly. Apparently, the tolerances that proper the proper Hawkeye kind of goal line technology stuff can get it down to 10 millimeters or whatever. Apparently, FIFA's level is something like 50 millimeters, so 5 centimeters.
That's
that
poor.
tolerance is quite
big.
wide. Isn't it? It's
That's
quite
really-
big, isn't
that's
it?
bad.
But that's official FIFA stuff. Or certainly was 5 years ago.
I think the Premier League could fund and sort out a very basic form of goal line technology, which it should be these days.
Just put a little camera
in all the Football League grounds. And I think the problem is with that kind of stuff, you're talking about all these cameras on top of the stadium, is because a company gets the contract to do it and they're just like going it's like basically
We need a
getting
cameraman
contract.
on everyone.
Do you want me to have a quote for this studio?
Yeah. Or it's
80
like
grand.
any company getting a contract from the US government.
Yes, of course.
I mean, it's license to print money.
Not anymore, mate.
Yeah.
Thank you, Doge.
I also really loved Alex Cochrane marking Dan Burn.
That was good.
Yeah, it was
the
fun, wasn't it?
footage the BBC showed of it happening at corners was it's genuinely like a dad playing with his kid, like slapping his hands away, like pushing him off. Like it was very, very like dad and child energy.
Yes, it was. Dan Burn failing. I think he sort of failed to realise that Alex Cochrane has got to do an awful lot here to make sure that the ball doesn't come anywhere near you. What are they thinking about? It's
Referee's tugging on my sleeve.
It's just piss poor, isn't it? On a Sunday morning, every game I've ever played.
Yeah.
Right, mark him up. Let's just go height for height.
Yeah, because
really.
you don't know who the team is.
Yeah, exactly.
There was
But you
absolutely
know
no
that
excuse.
he's useful in the air. And look at the size of him.
Well, either the Birmingham City coaching staff have said that as a brief before the game.
Yeah. Get in his head. This is weird.
Or the players on the pitch have decided that's the best matchup. Either way, the outcome is dreadful.
Imagine in that moment being like, oh, this would be funny. Stand next to me.
Yeah, it was in the name of Bants. Then,
It was
Vish.
like-
I'm all about it.
It was like Muggsy Bogues and Manute Bol.
Oh,
For those who
what
like
a
that sort of
lovely
thing.
reference that is.
Do you think with that kind of stuff, do you think Dan Burn is so tall that it's almost like a bell curve where there's an optimum height to be at a corner,
Yeah.
but Dan Burn is so tall that he's on the
Yeah,
sitting down with it.
Okay.
And it's like, well, if we're crossing the ball to him, it's too high. He's probably not gonna. He's basically in there to be a nuisance.
And the player can get both of his legs into the midriff of Dan Burn and fold him up like a trouser press.
yes, or flick him over
Like a boomerang.
from Pete the Pilgrim to then rock bottom him.
Well, there was no
Pete and then-
VAR, so he could just jump on his back.
Pilgrim Pete or Pete the Pilgrim.
He's a different
Put
guy.
him in a sports bag in a bath.
Exactly.
Oh, dear.
Correct.
Yeah.
That would be a big sports bag, wouldn't it?
Have to be.
That'd be hefty.
But I'll tell you what, Peter, you must be very, very excited about the idea that Newcastle could really be doing the
$4,000
business in the Cup this season. Yeah. Well, that's for the League Cup final, right?
Well, $2,000 for the League Cup, $2,000 for the FA Cup. Is it more expensive? I don't know.
You're only in the 5th round.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
well.
I'm just
Don't
saying.
say
They've got a taste for it, haven't they?
Don't set your stall out early. People are just going to rinse you.
Marcus, the stage is absolutely set for an FA Cup final, which quite simply finishes Newcastle 0, Manchester United 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can just see it a mile off, can't you?
Yeah. Oh,
You're not going to be happy. I'm not really going to be happy.
But we'll have a live show straight after.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll pick everybody up.
Ruben Amorim, guest of honour.
Absolutely right. Yeah. I mean, there is a real chance this season, of course, in the FA Cup, but we'll come to that in the next part. Now, there were a number of controversial decisions across the FA Cup this weekend. Obviously, we mention that one there in Birmingham versus Newcastle. But do join Luke and I on the Football Ramble YouTube channel this afternoon, where we'll be discussing whether this is proof of how much football needs VAR.
Yeah, that should be interesting because I literally don't know what I'm going to say yet.
Yeah.
So I've got to work that out between now.
And when I say join us this afternoon, it's not live. The video will be released this
Not doing
afternoon.
live.
And there's a few videos up there every Monday. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
All right, coming up after this, Burnley avoid a cup set at Southampton, lol. Yes, the most predictable result of the round was
You guys did call it on Friday.
Southampton 0, Burnley 1. Jim actually said Bednarek on goal in the 81st minute. Of course, it was Marcus Edwards in the 77th minute. So
Always nice to have a Marcus in there.
always nice to have a Marcus in there, as I will always say. So yes, Championship Burnley beat Premier League Southampton 1-0.
The colossal 2 places between them. Is it under? I think it's definitely undersaid on this show, particularly because we don't tend to cover Championship as much. But is it? Are we giving Scott Parker and Burnley enough credit for the sheer, tiny amount of goals they can?
I don't
see?
think, and there's obviously 3 places because Sheffield United went above them, but maybe at the time of the match, I think you were right.
Is that because they got a win against Portsmouth? I think it probably was.
Good old
Personally
Pompey.
enough, yeah.
But I mean, we have to compare them, as I often do, usually with Wolves, but this time Burnley to Capello's Milan.
They've conceded.
It's just astonishing.
So they haven't lost. They've lost 1 game since the 28th of August, Burnley, and they've conceded, I think, 1 goal in their last 11 games, and that was against Reading. They won that game anyway.
They're airtight at the back.
It is unreal.
They're not scoring that many goals in the league going forward, but I mean, a 1-0 is, you get the same amount of points for a 6-0.
They concede a goal in the league once every 3.5 games, so it doesn't really matter.
It's different.
You score, you win.
They're on for the records. I mean, obviously the clean sheet tally in the Championship is actually quite high, but James Trafford's on for it. But when they went to Southampton, it was just like Southampton not going to score against them.
And also, look, you could make a decent argument here that Burnley are they're a better team than Southampton, and they just happen to be in different divisions for whatever reason. But
that's going to be changed very quickly, isn't it?
Well, quite.
Well, certainly. Well, maybe. I mean, we'll see if Burnley can go
Less
up.
a match, more of a tag team, sort of hot tag. Get in.
Yeah, if they are in the same division next season, it'll be the Championship. But with Burnley, you're right. They know what they're doing. They've got their identity, if you like, in the Championship this season. They're well drilled. So, and they're very, very near the top. So, yes, of course they're better than Southampton because Southampton are all over the place. This season is a write-off for them. But what was beautiful for Burnley was the fact is that John Joe Shelvey started in midfield and just slipped into it. He's a man, a very disciplined player, as we know, on and off the field, and came in. And I mean, to be honest, when you come into that side, there is a way of playing. There's a way of doing things there. You don't want to be the player who comes in and it's all a bit disjointed and since you started playing, mate, we're shipping the odd goal here and
exactly,
there.
yeah.
So there is an element of pressure.
But if he's posting the numbers around ground covered, fitness, and all that other stuff, which top clubs always look at, we assume he is, because otherwise Parker isn't just going to go and get him. Like, incredible amount of experience.
Yeah.
I played at the top level, played for England, played for Liverpool.
Scored halfway line goals.
Yeah, that's what got him to move. That goal in Turkey that no one can forget, Vish.
Yeah.
But I would like to just put it out there. I think this is actually probably a new low for Southampton this season. I think it is. I honestly think it is. I'll tell you why. Let me tell you why. Right? They've had some really poor results this season. We know that, right?
How can it get worse? Matt Letizia comes back to manage them.
They've been beaten heavy at home to teams like Spurs and Chelsea. Spurs are having a terrible time of it, but it's not a massive surprise you lose at home to Chelsea. You know what I mean? All the players they've got. For them to lose at home in such a tepid fashion against a team, however good they are, in a lower division, we have to say that, are under half full the stadium. Like, it's a 32,000 capacity stadium.
They knew what was coming.
15,000 people in there.
It was a miserable day. They knew it was coming.
I honestly thought there was some kind of work going on in the main stand when I saw the highlights. And for all I know, there might be. I mean, maybe I've missed the point. But it's just, it's rock bottom. It really is rock bottom.
You finished?
I think if they played... No, I haven't finished. They could have played probably any team going down to about the middle of League One and been beaten. And that's a damning
middle of
assessment.
League One. I thought you might have gone a bit lower than that.
There was moments from what I saw in the match. There was moments where players had space on the right and left hand side, and instead of approaching the goal.
Yes.
They just stopped and just kind of like either did a crossfield ball or just sort of like
What, do
laid
you
it up
reckon
somebody.
do you reckon they're thinking that Burnley it's impossible to score against?
Exactly.
save our-
I think
You have a
this
go,
is
no, you have a go.
Burnley's reputation is just
Maybe it was, but lovely for Marcus Edwards to score. Obviously playing in top European competition for Sporting not that long ago.
Yeah.
But he's here to
He
help.
talked about how happy he was to be back and playing in England and
Of course.
against the Premier League team and all the rest of it. So yeah, good for him.
Frank Lampard's Coventry City had less luck against Premier League opposition. They were gubbed 4-1 at home to Ipswich, and that is exactly the thing. The Cup is meant to be a little bit of a holiday for those sides down in the relegation zone in the Premier League. Not having a good time, Vish. They are obviously getting beaten quite a lot, hence they're there. You play against a lower league side, although in the division you were previously in, you've got to think to yourself, hang on a minute, we're the Premier League side here. Let's try and get a bit of confidence on, and that's what they did.
Yeah, and you look at the goal scorers, they're players who, someone like in George Hurst and Jack Clark, they haven't quite kind of taken to first team football.
Jack Clark was really good, wasn't
Yeah, Clark was very good. We know he's very good. He was brought in to be a bit of a live wire, but also, Jaden Philogene getting on the score sheet as well.
I mean, they won't help by being given a penalty after 22 seconds.
That will do it, wouldn't it?
Yes.
That is part of if you're Frank Lampard, I reckon, we don't know this for sure, tell them not to do that. Tell them not to do that.
That's true, yeah. Lampard, I mean, we were talking him up, of course, they're having a great time at Coventry, and I thought this was cup set territory. But
I suppose this is the serious point now. But this is kind of the whole point of Lampard taking a job at Coventry City. It's not about doing it when it's on TV, so you can chat to all your mates in the in the studio and whatever. It's doing the stuff behind the scenes. It's doing the stuff like I suppose week in week out in the Championship that improves Coventry City. So I suppose obviously it's disappointing to lose in that fashion, but his most important work comes outside of this.
Yeah,
and I would add that the situation they've been in where Coventry, where they've flirted with being promoted. I mean,
Robbins had them on the brink, didn't he?
He did, and they didn't quite do it, and then he moves on because he'd been.
Well, it was so sad. We were talking about this on Friday. It was so sad because he is a legend there,
totally,
and one of their best managers, certainly in recent times. So for Lampard, they needed a bit of a pick me up, and it was tough shoes to fill.
But that middle part of the Championship table was very, very close. You've got like 3 or 4 points between sort of 5th-ish down to about 12th, 13th, off the top of my head.
I mean, it's often like that, but it's particularly.
So they've got an opportunity. That's what I'm saying, because they've got players that have done okay in the Championship, and I think he's actually done okay. Lampard. He has. He's done well. They lost in the Championship last time out before the Cup game, but before that they were on a bit of a run
to Leeds as well.
Right. So I mean, it's there for them if they want it.
He's got previous with the playoffs as well.
Yeah, exactly. With Derby,
So
exactly.
he took them to the final. So, Lamps wants to be back at Wembley. What about Manchester United, Vish? Are they going to get back to Wembley? They're through to the 5th round, marching through against Leicester. Harry Maguire nodded a lovely 93rd minute winner. He will do that.
He will do that when he stands about fucking 4 yards offside. get the run on him.
Presumably, you lot had better things to do with your Friday night. Did any of you watch the game?
I watched it. Yeah, it was fucking terrible.
Exactly,
and we want an apology.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. I'm simply not the man to give it to you.
I mean, Amorim pretty much.
Because at some point you got to take responsibility for your own actions.
Amorim's energy seemed to be, well, I tried to warn you all. We are the worst team you've ever seen.
What did you expect? They're builders.
Exactly,
Really ruined my KFC, this one.
Did it?
Yeah.
That's interesting if you to go for a takeaway quite so close to home, Pete.
What do you mean?
A lot more exotic than the KFC.
I was going to say, you were up in your old stomping ground, Hartlepool, on the weekend, weren't you?
I was, yeah. I've had quite an eclectic mix of food. I had KFC on the Friday, then I had kebab meat and a parmo on Saturday, and then I ate some black pudding from the freezer.
Did you thaw it out?
Well, it went off.
Let him cook.
It went off. Literally. No, I wish I had.
Yeah.
But it was a little bit frozen in the middle, and I put it in the freezer around about October, and that feels like a lit. You know, like when there's a firing squad and one...
No one talk. No one talk.
No.
You know, like
when there's a firing squad.
Yeah. You know, there's a firing squad and like one man's got a blank.
Yeah.
And it's like I think it's called the conscience round.
No, I think all of them...
Is it not all have got a blank other than one bloke?
You'd know, wouldn't you? If there's 5 years, you only hear one
I think
bang.
he's right. It's the conscience.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So one
you're
person has
sorry.
a bang, so anyone could have the bang.
Yeah,
and
that's
so
it.
I think I just eat a load of stuff that could kill me, and then Monday morning I'm absolutely fine. So I'm absolutely
Nice.
all right.
Once again, you've cheated death.
Could have been anything that gave me the shits. Could have been anything.
Disrespectful to his colleagues, giving himself such a small percentage chance of being ready for work on Monday
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
What did you eat in
I
between?
watched the match though, didn't I?
What did you have? What did you eat in between?
Just jelly babies from my
Yeah,
mum.
that's it.
Can I just say, we're both of a similar age. I think
Yeah.
I'm about 8 months older than you.
Yeah.
You're going KFC,
Yeah.
and you're going Parmo with kebab meat,
Yeah.
and I think some chips in that photo as
Garlic
well.
sauce, yeah.
That is so salty. That'd have me up all night. How'd you do it?
Doing what?
Just
drinking.
just absolutely housing water.
Right.
How's your gallbladder?
Yeah.
That's fine. Well, you've had stones, haven't you? I've never had stones.
I had, gallbladder. It was awful business.
Gallbladder.
Gallbladder, mate.
Gallbladder.
I've heard it's like genuinely excruciatingly
Oh, it
painful.
was.
worst
If you are struggling with that, because often it might take the medical people a while to kind of get there.
Gallstones rather than this game.
Yeah,
That's what we're talking about.
it felt like having gallstones.
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Get on the milk thistle.
Is that right?
Milk
Milk,
thistle.
milk thistle.
Yeah.
Get
What
on
is
the.
it? Is it just
It's
they've
magic.
milked the thistle? Is that what milk
Peter,
thistle is?
It's simply magic.
Thistle. Why do they call it thistle milk then?
I don't
It's
care.
a medieval treatment.
Well,
sounds
sort it out. Make it. It needs a rebrand. Milk thistle.
I had,
Thistle
no,
milk.
I don't think it does.
Delicious thistle milk. Get it down, yeah.
What we need is it to sponsor one of the cup
But you
competitions.
know how,
Yes.
you know
the
how
milk
Pete,
thistle cup.
But you know how Pete views that now. Now you've given that recommendation.
Yes.
I'll tell you everyone listening what he's going to do.
Just been drinking it
He'll go
all day.
online,
Yeah.
he'll buy 24 bottles of it,
Yeah.
and he'll use it as an excuse to eat whatever he wants whenever he wants.
I did.
I've got an airbag. You mentioned Amorim earlier. He was like, the goal should have been overturned. I mean, it was.
I find him refreshing.
I do as well, but I just. He talks a very good game. I just think we may find Amorim saying the same thing well into
Oh, he's
next
gonna lose
season.
his job.
And then no, he'll be the first one to walk away.
Because
I can't be.
Why I
bothered with
find
this.
it refreshing, and obviously Vish is the Man United fan here, so he can come in, but it's the easiest thing in the world for a coach of his age, with his experience, highly rated, but not really achieved a massive amount because of the clubs he's been at, to come in and just be, wow, I'm at the biggest club in the world, it's amazing, and be like a real Solskjaer type company man because he's so grateful to be there.
Solskjaer played there, though.
But he's actually standing there surveying the battlefield and going, this is a shit show.
But even when Solskjaer was in charge, he took over a side that had finished second the previous season.
Yeah.
So it is quite uncharted territory, which he's in.
But this, we talked about. I was kind of coming into this weekend thinking, it's actually it's going to be quite interesting and hopefully quite refreshing to see some really big teams playing in a situation where there's no VAR, right? And it'll be hopefully like a proper holiday. Give us nice warm feeling about what football was like a number of years ago before it came in, because it's been very controversial. And then this decision in the very first game of the weekend, it almost felt like totally farcical because and I'll tell you why, because it was so obviously offside. The only conclusion one can draw is that the assistant referee is so used to now not having to call offsides that he wasn't concentrating on what he was doing. Because really, you can make an argument with assistant referees that they're actually quite obsolete when it comes to offsides now. They don't flag till much later. They don't flag straight away unless it's super obvious. They're used to refereeing in a totally different way
It's
now.
very tricky for the officials to do it.
And I think it's a honed skill. And if you look at the statistics at the top level of football before VAR came in, their offside accuracy was around, like the overall accuracy of refereeing decisions based on what a panel checked out was something like 98%. With offsides with assistant referees, about 94%. It was really
very high.
good.
Yeah.
But what's happened is now it's like a muscle. They're not exercising it anymore, and that's why you get that stuff happening. So it was a really annoying way, from Leicester's point of view particularly, to start the FA Cup weekend with no VAR, because it was just a painfully bad decision. It was so bad.
He didn't want more match.
Okay,
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Look, you and I, we're going to have it on our YouTube channel later, but I just don't follow the idea of, hey, there's no VAR, this is going to be great. And I'm like, well, so you've got fewer eyes on it. Like, it's just going to cause more frustration. But anyway.
Yeah, I suppose it's
But there
more
are things like you know a goal's a goal.
Yeah.
It's an interesting development. It's an interesting kind of way of watching, you know.
And I think it's definitely an improvement for the in-ground experience as a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, I don't know. I mean, having watched Fulham in the Championship, yeah, I know what you mean. You can celebrate the goal, but when you look
but not even celebrate, just like the delays and can you at least tell us what you're checking out?
The delays really don't bother me that much. If you're checking it, you make sure you get it right. It's not like you're there for half an hour.
on-field chat.
Time for chit-chat, isn't it?
I love the on-field chat.
Yeah.
The voices are so shit. You see the American...
voices, their voices.
You see the NFL...
I like them.
See the NFL referees and umpires and judges do it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I think we could have a bit of celebrity.
They're good at talking. They're good at sort of expressing
yeah.
themselves.
Americans are great at that.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
We could have a celebrity kind of voice.
Right, a celebrity voice.
Like in sat-navs, the old sat-navs.
Yeah.
And you could have
Yoda.
You could have Yoda, Mr. T, for example, Ozzy Osbourne.
Can you have Mr. T?
I'm pretty sure you could. Ozzy Osbourne was another popular one. That's what I mean. Like some sort of.
Do you want Ozzy Osbourne?
They're doing the VAR calls.
Sharon.
No, we're waiting. We're still waiting. Or, I tell you who would be good is the guy who does the X Factor voiceovers. Yeah. And we're waiting for VAR. Yeah. It is a penalty. I don't think anyone's arguing with that.
Yeah. No, it's true. Very definitive, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Now, Tottenham are out of the FA Cup. That is definitive. They lost to Aston Villa. It could have and should have been more than 2-1, to be quite frank. There was Olays and so on. And speaking of VAR...
They started well.
Yeah. I tell you something. A few takeaways. Villa, that is exactly the pick-me-up they needed from... what do I say pick-me-up? The reason why they got some of these players into, maybe lacking a little bit of energy and a little bit of fatigue because of all that. Much has been made of that. The fans couldn't believe their luck. They were Olay and Rodgers looked like he was going to score at any moment. Asensio got involved.
Such a good player, Morgan Rodgers.
Yeah, Asensio got involved. Little back hit. I mean, it was a glorious. They played 2-1-2s. It would have been a great goal.
Yeah.
Even Rashford looks amazing in that kit, by the way.
Yeah, he does.
Comes on and he nutmegs Pedro Porro, and I'm just like, this is.
Pedro Porro goes to take him out,
and that should have been given.
That's fairly easily done.
Yeah, I think it was maybe slightly outside the box.
Yeah, but
that was a foul.
The most surprising bit about all that was that Pedro Porro was anywhere near the right back position.
Oh, he was on the pitch.
He normally isn't. But what was really interesting about going into this game, and it's one of those ones, isn't it? This where you remember when Spurs lost 3-2 to Everton, it was not a 3-2 game.
No, it wasn't.
This was not a 2-1 game.
This had the hallmarks of that St James's Park game against Newcastle when they conceded 5 in 20 minutes.
Yeah,
this could have been that bad.
It was bad from Spurs again. I was just going to make the point that what I found super interesting in the build up to this game, and I thought that Villa would win this game, and I gave my rationale for that. But and the reason was that they hadn't had a game for 8 days. Mm-hmm. They've struggled traditionally when they've had to play midweek. We know about that. Their record playing after a Champions League game is tough. They hadn't had that, so I thought they'd be fresh and they'd be up for it. But Emery's management of Rashford so far has been interesting to me because he's been massively bigging him up every opportunity.
Yeah.
Right.
He's trained so well. He's such a good pro. He was talking about him in a way that he hasn't been talked about for some time because of everything that's been going on. And it'll be interesting to see if that works. He was given a bit of a kind of, what do you call it, like an extended cameo, really, half an hour or so, and he showed some bits, and Asensio came on at the same time, which is a nice touch as well.
Come on.
But watch this space with Rashford going forward because it'll be very, very interesting. We should also mention that Matis Tel got his first goal for Spurs as well, which is potentially interesting for Spurs.
Running to get the ball. I was like, you don't understand the situation.
We don't do that here. yeah.
Well, there's a bit of urgency.
They can get a third.
I tell you what, though, and I know this is I know Spurs fans. You've obviously been tough and so on, but Spurs they're out both cups now, domestic cups.
Yeah.
In the space of 4 days.
And again, you can lose at Anfield. You can lose at Villa Park. The manner of it. It's piss poor.
Yeah.
The Europa League, we've said this before, Spurs are one of the few teams who really, really could win that trophy. Right now, they're not going to win the Europa League with Ange as manager. Right now, the season is a write-off with Ange as manager. I don't blame Postecoglou for the feeling and the vibe around the club because we know it's been there for a while. However, I think Levy and co have got to make a decision, and I think they've got to make it pretty quickly. Do you want this season to try, as unlikely as it may be, because of course injuries and blah, 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 but do you want to try and salvage something from this season? Because if you do, and you can, it's still within the realms of possibility that they could go on and win that Europa League. I think they've got to change the manager. It doesn't excuse what Levy's done, blah, 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 all that sort of business. With that squad of players and potentially what could happen, could they win it with a different manager?
No, I also don't think that, because a different manager would be Ryan Mason again. No.
Vish, I think Vish is right there, Marcus, because we've had this conversation before.
Let's be real about this.
You don't know who's going to be the replacement.
Yeah,
You just keep saying replacement. We don't know who it is.
Get Jose back. This is.
Remember when I sacked you before the League Cup final?
Exactly. This should make amends for that.
I think. I don't think he's going to sack him yet. I think we could be having a full conversation about this in a week's time after Manchester United Spurs on Sunday coming up.
If they put in another tepid display against Man United,
I think it's 22nd of February.
If they put in another tepid display against Manchester United, actually, we don't know what's going to happen. That might be enough.
It'll be nil-nil.
I mean, look, I understand they beat Brentford. Look, anyway.
Sorry, the point I was going to make is it would be a caretaker. It will be most likely Ryan Mason. Ryan Mason is just not a good manager. I'm sure he's a nice guy. He's just not a good manager. And I think you know what? It's probably worth the risk to keep him for the rest of the summer and then almost bin him then, because otherwise I don't think they make up any ground by sacking him now.
No.
But again, he could be gone next week.
Indeed. But the FA Cup itself, very interesting. Yeah. Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs, they're all out.
Yep.
A lot of Premier teams have gone.
Gizit.
Newcastle are eyeing it up. Dare I say Fulham are as well.
Yeah, Brighton did well to knock out Chelsea. Fulham are through.
Yeah.
And by the way, on the Fulham game, that Johnny Smith's goal for Wigan
wasn't enough to win it.
It's a beauty though.
Yeah.
Was his celebration the In the Night Garden celebration?
Don't know.
The start of In the Night. Pete? You watching the Night Garden with your?
I do. Yes.
You know where they do that at the start? With
Yes.
the finger under the arm. It looked like he was doing that. His celebration. I'd love to know.
Yeah.
Oh,
Any Wigan
interesting.
fans listening, let us know.
Do let us know.
Any In the Night Garden fans, let us know.
The enduring love of In the Night Garden.